Supervisor here for the puppet department here at Laika. I'm just going to try and deliver a very sort of brief but thorough a little chat about our who we are and our process. We occupy about 20,000 square foot at the top of the studio, the second floor of the studio. Custom built workshop. At sort of full whack, we can accommodate 100-ish fabrication artists, and our crew are made up of people with various backgrounds. We have illustrators, jewelers, engineers, hairdressers, people from the pottery industry, and a sort of a splattering of sort of art school rejects as well. Are always really great. It reinforces the personality of the department. So where do we start, and what were the challenges on missing link? So, I mean, any experienced puppet maker would say, if asked, what is the worst case scenario when fabricating a stop motion puppet? And they would probably say, well, big characters, kind of husky, covered in fur and hair, and over a foot tall, and here we've got our hero, Link. So for the purposes of just going through our process and how we build, I'm going to concentrate on Link. We basically concentrate in the department on the puppets from the neck down and the forehead up. So we build the wigs and like I say, from the neck down, and then we have an RP department that deals with the replacement faces, and Brian will be coming to speak about that later. So just to rewind again, where do we start? So we start with the first things we see. I mean, obviously, we get the boards and the scripts, and we get these beautiful, on this movie, we have these beautiful 2D turnarounds from originally generated by Chris Butler, the director. And these 2D drawings then go to a veteran concept sculptor who has been realizing concept sculpts, for Laika, I think probably from Coraline to today, a name of Kent Melton. And what Kent does is he takes these 2D realizations and model turnarounds, and then produces a sculpt which, is important for many reasons. And one of the reasons is it sells and portrays the character and the personality of Link in this case. And what it does for us is it gives us a real idea of scale and dimension. And so this is really our origin. They say here maquette is king, so this is really our basis for build. And when we receive this is after director approval. We receive a maquette like this. The creative puppet team go in, and we start to look at this sculpt and this character, and start to break this character down visually and mentally, and then on paper, and look at what this form means to us to create a puppet that is going to perform properly, anatomically, etc. For the animation department. And one of the things that we saw with Link, and one of the things we always address with any character, is if you look at this, if you look at the length of the back of his ankle to his toe, and from his ankle to his knee, this is a much longer form and a much longer shape. And had we stuck to this, so we brought it in a little bit, as you can see on this character, it would have affected performance. It would have affected the animator's performance, the stepping through. It's a little bit clown-like, so we just pulled him in a little bit.
I think it's also good to point out, John, at this point as well. This is our first movie where the lead character wasn't a kid, so we were able to bring the entire scale down slightly. I think like 17% ish, something like that, because at previous movie scale, Mr. Link would have been
a lot
much
taller.
bigger now, because we've still got much smaller characters in the movie than him, so we were able to bring him down, which had a huge knock-on effect that you'll see later with the sets as well, because it brings everything down. And it's huge. He's still a big character, but obviously that's his MO.
Exactly. I mean,
does it make it harder to create smaller characters, or is it easier when they're big? Or
there's always a limit. I mean, the thing about this guy is he's already fairly hefty. I mean, the full puppet weighs about 6 and a bit pounds, which is towards 3 kilos if you're metric, and he's about a third he's 2/3 lighter than the original King Kong, for example, in 1933. So you know we've come a long way, but he's pretty hefty, and he required a lot of rigging.
They get a bit bigger for performance-wise. So the animators prefer characters in and around like Stank, and size-wise, it's easier for them to handle because they don't need rigs. But obviously, a big guy like this, you know, does need a rig. So I guess
Yeah, I mean, a big note from the director on this guy in particular, and throughout the movie as far as character was concerned, was, you know, maintaining profile and silhouette, and maintaining a silhouette on a character that's shaped like this is pretty tricky. I mean, we didn't want any kind of deformation like I've got here, say over my belt line. We wanted to make this shape robust and keep it, on silhouette. So to answer your question, bigger. I mean, he was tricky, but he worked out. You know, with the aid of a really great rigging department.
And I think we hit our limit with that. With this, we couldn't go any smaller because on the very small characters, you lose the definition of the eyes. So as soon as you lose that, be able to see the eyes, you lose all the performance. So that was kind of how we found that line in the sand, because everything else got too small. So it was
that said, there are actually minis in this.
We do have
this
minis,
movie
for
the first
wide,
time.
so you would not see those eyes anywhere. But
and anyone that can spot them.
They're
pretty successful, and I think it's the first time we've used
never done that. Yeah, we've
miniatures in a Laika film. So it's quite a brave step, but we got away with it.
We did,
and it helped some of those long shots on the ice bridge, for example. So what else can I say about the puppet development? A puppet like this, for Laika, the average kind of what we do is we develop a puppet, and the average kind of we get to a point where we arrive at what we call a first unique, and the average time frame for that is about 9 months to get to that first hero character in development. That's the animation testing. I mean, that might seem extraordinary, but if you consider that this linked armature, for example, you know, there's 250 plus considered components in this, from the screw to the squash and stretch mechanism here. So it's quite an investment. I mean, once we've got that, you know, we've got a buy-off from animation, from the director, from art, and we're into manufacture. We produced 11 naked, I think, and 10 clothes links, for example. We can really roll. We're kind of into a manufacturing base.
Could you squash and stretch him again?
Sure. So there's a stretch. There was a limit. I don't want to pop him off. This was great. This was really useful. It gave him great sort of warmth. You know, a lot of expression, a lot of personality.
And this kind of performance would have really been, say, on previous movies for like real special builds, special kind of one-off builds, but fewer. But we built. These guys built that into every one of these Mr. Link puppets.
Yeah, he became a standard rather than a special.
Really raised the bar performance-wise.
He's probably the most sophisticated to this day. I mean, you know, the brief is always about performance, and I think more and more the philosophy as we go forward in this film and into future films is performance, but actually life. You know, once these characters live, and getting that performance from beneath is really a good sell. Link also has a breather here. You can see he can breathe in and out, and something that's really neat, which we call kind of like it's a belly mover, kind of girth control. Is this one here? So a lovely bounce on his belly when he's trotting along. There's something else to the. I mean, we produce and design most of the joints in house, and practically all of them from now on. And we go, you know, when we lay out joints and make a joint array, we kind of do go for that sort of same as our own anatomy. You know, we've got hinges, we've got ball joints, hinges in the elbow. We've got swivels in the arm, so it's a pretty sophisticated bit of kit, this. Another neat thing about this armature is this material here. This is what's called a grip lock. Now, what's important to animators is really that critical contact. You know, a puppet needs to be responsive, and that immediate response is required. This material here is a resin, but it's a special type of resin. It's a climbing resin, and it's the same resin that you would find in like a climbing wall if you go to more places and go up. And we love it because obviously those things can't break. So we use it for to great extent here now as well. So these foot plates, really sophisticated. They take quite a long time to program. It takes about 6 weeks to get these contoured foot plates. But once we've got it, we're pushing them out. We can push out 50 to 100 in a week and a half. So
How much has
it's a lot of investment, but once we got it, we're good.
how much has like technology advancement sort of changed things since, say, like at Weta with Lord of the Rings to here? Like, how much has changed? Is it a whole new world, or?
In my experience, okay, so I mean, Laika have been as quick to adopt new technology. I mean, whatever gets you from A to B, from paper to stage, efficiently and quickly, isn't it? Exploit. Can I get some water, Dan? Sorry. And Weta, he's funny, Paul Weta. I mean, they adopted the same thing. You know, big CNC beds for proofing out models, large scale, and rapid prototyping. So when I left, 15 years ago, I think, they were just getting to that then. So, yeah, of course, you're going to embrace it.
Yeah.
You know, it adds a lot of opportunity for creation. So.
It was a really big part of when we extended the building as well. We were able to redesign our workshops, and it allowed us to be able to bring in the new larger machinery, so we can produce these joints and parts in-house rather than as we did before. We were sourcing out of house.
Yeah.
So that gives us a freedom, and it gives. As soon as we get a new toy, we'll use it what it's supposed to be used for, and we'll start to play with it, and the other departments start sniffing around and saying, oh, what's that all about? And then it just allows us to do something that, if we're going to go to an outside vendor, we're not just going to say, how could this be used for rigging, or how could this, but once we got that in-house, we kind of like, every department has now got a 3D printer, because we use it in a different way, so I think it allows that development as well.
You know, when we take a piece of kit and see what we can do with it, and what it will do and what it won't do, and we just keep pushing it until, you know, and sometimes you get some crazy results, and they're useful.
It doesn't always work.
Like the polo mint, you know, doesn't respect right. Anyway, okay, so I'm just going to move on to the interior of this. So that's the armature. It's beautiful, like I say, sophisticated, and because of the because of the technology we have here, we're able to make this the default version rather than a special version. As I'm pointing out. I just want to talk a little bit about the rest of Link and what it's made of. He's primarily silicon. We use 2 types of silicon. He's pretty much tin silicon throughout, and the reason is that you know, these characters, once they're down on stages, they really get quite a battering. You know, as sophisticated as they are, as delicate as they are. Well, they're not delicate, but I mean, they're robust to a point and durable. We have about 14 people that maintain the puppets for animation. This material will rip, it will tear, and it's constantly being repaired. And what we find with tin, silicons, it's very accessible, it's very fast to repair. We can do repairs on stages. That said, we are moving into more platinum silicons.
We actually have a puppet hospital. It's legitimately called.
It literally is.
So we've got
it's got a red cross, everything.
Downstairs, we've just extended the puppet hospital because it's kind of literally like a rapid response unit, because time is our biggest commodity. Animators' time, because it takes so long to animate. So, yeah, they haven't got flashing lights, but that could be.
Well, we built some little gurneys for the puppets for a jive, which is pretty funny. But anyway. So yeah, he's primarily silicon. I mean, his interior, and I was talking about that shape and maintaining that shape before. Inside here, if I could slice him open or pull this skin off, he's got a foam interior that's of different foam softnesses. It looks a little bit like a pineapple, with these concentric sort of diamonds placed next to each other, sliced through. And what it meant was that when he expands, it kind of keeps his form. When he tips, it holds rather than buckles. Something else really cool about him, as far as fur is concerned. I mean, achieving fur in a stop motion character is quite the thing. Something that we don't enjoy here and don't encourage, and we don't have in our films is boil and crawl. I don't know if everyone knows what that is exactly. Well, if you look at, say, maybe more sort of purist stop motion films like Isle of Dogs, for example, is a good example. Go back to King Kong or Ray Harryhausen. You see that kind of scatter on the surface of the puppets, whether it's hair or other things. So we needed to create something that would break like fur. Like here you see his neck moving. And you got that depth, everything moving over itself, without that flick, without that scatter. So this cowl is not silicone, it's made of urethane, which is a material that you probably find in your car dashboard, for example. We use a lot of urethanes because we can vary the softness of urethanes from quite a gummy material to something that's very solid. This is the same as this, only this has got a softener in it. And so this is a really neat piece of soft engineering, really. It's quite a thing. It took a while to get to. It's got a beautiful concentric foam core. This is rough. We made about 26 of these have been pulled off a puppet, so it's been well used.